had a decent sales week, not amazing, decent. And also I sold a lot of shoes, and there were some great shoe sales. There were some okay ones and some downright stinky ones. So if you want to learn a little bit more about especially what kinds of shoes are selling, stay tuned. Hi everyone, my name is Becky Park. I'm a part-time reseller on a variety of reselling platforms. I have a full-time job as a high school choir teacher, so when I'm not doing that and all of the things that come with that, I like to sell people's old clothing and shoes online. And it's a really great side hustle. It's a good way to make some extra money, and it's fun. Like, I enjoy going out and finding things to resell at places like thrift stores and consignment stores and garage sales. Like, it's just really fun to go out and shop in that way and then sell those items for more online. So that's exactly what we're going to talk about in this video, is all of the sales that I made in the week of March 6th through the 12th. So if that sounds interesting to you, definitely hit that subscribe button so that YouTube lets you know when I upload more content like this. So we're going to go ahead and start by talking about March 6th, which was a Monday, and that Monday started with 0 sales. It started off rough. I'm sure if I think back to what I was thinking at that time, I was feeling a little scared, a little skeptical about what the week would hold, but thankfully it got a little bit better. So on Tuesday, which was March 7th, on eBay I had 3 sales. The first sale was this pair of Loft Marissa khaki cropped dress pants in a women's size for petite. This was not a great sale. This was something that I had had for ever. I think that it's something that someone gave me for free to resell. I sold it for $11.90. That was an offer that I sent out to watchers, and I sent out an extremely low offer, hoping and praying that the person would accept, because I had had these in my possession for over 2 years and I just wanted them gone. These kind of like dress pants from Loft, they do not resell for a lot. And the reason for that is because there's a lot of these listed on all of the reselling platforms. Everyone's trying to move them and get rid of them, and therefore they just don't move very quickly. But thankfully, this pair finally sold for $11.90. It was promoted at 3%, and I made a net profit on those pants of $9.88. Good riddance. The next thing to sell was this pair of Torrid white vegan leather Mary Jane shoes in a size 9.5 WW. I did put the keyword dark academia in the listing title and in the listing details because this definitely had kind of that like dark academia vibe. So I was excited when I found these because I thought that they would do really well. I thought that they would sell really fast. Traditionally, Torrid shoes do move pretty quickly for me. I picked these up at a local Goodwill for $4.99. However, they sat for months, and I think it's because I had them listed at $35. I probably should have just listed them at $25 and they would have sold much faster. They got so much attention. They had so many likes. I sent out so many offers on all of the different platforms, but they eventually sold for $25 on eBay via an offer. It was also promoted at 3%, and so I made a net profit of $18.45. So there are some things that you can get away with pricing up a little bit, you know. This was not one of them. This I really should have just priced correctly at $25 and probably moved them within that first week of them being listed instead of trying to squeeze out an extra $10. I mean, this wasn't gonna be where it happened. They're just not rare enough. They're not special enough. People knew better than to pay $35 for these, so I'll learn my lesson. The next thing to sell was this pair of 7 for All Mankind blue cuffed distressed low-rise denim shorts in a size 24. These I was kind of surprised by because they sold pretty fast after being listed. They sold within like, I don't know, a month of being listed for $20, and they were promoted at 3%. These actually came to me from a person who used to go to my church. She's finishing up her freshman year of college, actually. And before she left for college, she gave me all of the stuff that she had collected over the past couple years to resell. So all of her inventory. I thought it was so cool that she was reselling as a high school student. So I had no money into those shorts, and I made a net profit of $16.55. I thought that these would sit for a while because they were a smaller size, because they were low rise, because they just seemed like a little bit older of a style, but they moved really fast once I got them listed. So, you know, that just goes to show sometimes you think you know all of the things and then you realize you do not. On Wednesday, which was March 8th, on Poshmark, I sold this pair of fit-flop black leather slip-on comfort shoes in a women's size 7. I got those at a Goodwill near where my mother-in-law lives for $6.99. They sold for $34 with discounted shipping because of a Chrome extension called Posher VA that I use to send out offers to likers once, 5 minutes has passed since they liked an item. And so I made a net profit on those flip-flops of $18.19. FitFlop is another really great shoe brand. Typically I do not pick up like sandals or like super casual shoes, but if they're by FitFlop, I will, because they can still get me close to that $20 profit that I'm looking for. It's just a really great brand that a lot of women love to wear and that they swear by. So for now, it's definitely still a brand that I purchase when I see it out and about if the price is not too high. The next pair of shoes that I sold, I told you I sold a lot of shoes this week. The next pair were these Native, which is a great children's shoe brand, Jefferson slip-on shoes in a size 4. These I had priced way too high. Native is a really great brand, but it's not great enough that you can price them, astronomically. So I think I had them priced at like $35 or something. I got a $15 offer, and because they had been listed for so long, I just went ahead and accepted. This is another case of I should have just priced them correctly, probably around like $20, $25. They would have sold for that amount versus, having to wait for someone to super lowball me, but just selling them out of exasperation. I should have just done the wise thing and priced them appropriately to begin with. So I made a net profit of $12. Those were given to me for free. So I made money on them, but I could have made more and sold them faster had I not been so greedy in the first place. On eBay, I sold this pair of Old Navy bootcut jeans. They had an adjustable waist. They were in a youth size 5. So those sold for $9. They were promoted at 3% as well. I got those for free as well. So I made a net profit of $6.56 on those. And those had been listed for a decent amount of time. I'm no longer really selling kids clothing. I'll list things here and there, but there's actually a local kids consignment store that I have just been taking all of my kids stuff too, because just the profit that you can make on kids clothes isn't as much as you can make on adults clothing. Every now and then I will list a kids piece, especially if it's something that I feel like will flip really quickly, but things like old, outdated Old Navy jeans, like these are not the kinds of things that I need to be listing. I'd rather make a couple bucks on them by taking them to a local consignment store, but not have to do any of the work. That's definitely a lot more appealing to me now than taking the time to list those items and just make a few bucks off of them after I've spent all that time photographing and listing those things. The next thing to sell was over on Mercari, and it was this Eddie Bauer blue goose down puffer vest in a men's size extra large. This sold for $32, and I only had $2 into it because it was part of a lot that I purchased off of a reseller who, realized about a year into reselling that she didn't like to resell clothes. There were some really great pieces in the lot. A lot of it was stuff that I probably would never pick up on my own, but this was definitely a really great piece and probably something that I would have passed on at the thrift store just because I don't pick up a lot of Eddie Bauer. But when I looked at this piece over and studied the materials tag, that's when I realized that it was goose down. And goose down is obviously going to make you a little bit more money than things that are filled with polyester or things of that nature. So I made a net profit on that vest of $25.37. I also had a couple sales on my website this week, which was really cool because I didn't even do a drop in the month of March. This was just people visiting my website and shopping from me. So on this particular day, I sold this University of Auckland, which is New Zealand, right? It was a gray pullover sweatshirt in a size small. I had actually picked that up for myself. I wore it once or twice. I just didn't like how it fit on me. I thought it was so cool though that it was from New Zealand. New Zealand is at the top of my bucket list of places that I want to visit. I want to go there in Australia so bad one day, and I think I was just kind of living vicariously through this sweatshirt a little bit. But that sold on my website for $25.95 to Jamie. So Jamie, if you're watching, thank you so much. I had $4.99 into that from a local thrift store, so I made a net profit on that sweatshirt of $15.77. Moving on to Thursday, which was March 9th, on Poshmark, I sold this pair of new with tags, Good American, good waist, high-rise skinny jeans in a size 8. One of my former coworkers, she is actually in a new school now. She is one of my favorite people in all of the land. Like, we did theater together. She was the tech director and I was the vocal music director. But she texted me randomly one day and was like, do you want some jeans? Like my husband got me jeans in all the wrong sizes and I, just have to let go of them. And I thought of you. And I was like, of course. And I was just kind of expecting like, Old Navy or Target or I don't know, stuff like that. And I went to her house to pick them up and it was Good American. There was Adriano Goldschmied. Like these were top-notch jeans. And so these sold for $70 and I made a profit of $56 because she gave them to me for free, which was so sweet. And in return, I brought over bags and bags of clothes that my kids have outgrown because her kids are just a little bit younger than mine. So it's perfect. Like they fit into my kids' clothes when my kids outgrow them. It works out really great. And she was like, this is not a fair trade. Like you gave me so much more stuff. And I was like, no, this is very fair because I don't want this stuff. You don't want your stuff. Like it works out perfectly. So I think I got like 3 or 4 pairs of jeans from her and I brought her like 3 or 4 bags of kids' clothes. But that stuff was used and her kids are just going to wear it versus me getting to make money off of her stuff. So I thought it was a pretty good exchange. On eBay, I sold another pair of shoes by a really great brand. The brand is Fin Comfort. It was this pair of black leather Sonoma Mary Jane shoes in a European size 38, which translates to a US 7.5. Fin Comfort, I believe, is a German brand, and just like the name suggests, they make comfort shoes. They make lots of clogs and slip-on shoes. These sold for $35. They were promoted at 3%. I picked them up for $5.99, so I made a net profit of $21.46. I probably could have gotten a little bit more for them, but they were a pretty quick flip, which is what I was happy with, and definitely a brand that I like to pick up. The next pair of shoes to sell was by the brand Fry, and this was also on my website. So it was this pair of black Cora Roper pebbled leather pull-on knee-high boots in a size 8. These sold to Tabitha, so Tabitha, thank you so much. And they sold for $79.95. Now on my website, I do offer free shipping. So once you factor in my cost of goods, which was $7.99 from a Goodwill about an hour away from where I live, and the fact that I paid for shipping, my net profit on those boots was still $57.13. I was ecstatic when I found this pair of Fry boots and another pair of Fry boots at this particular Goodwill. I just happened to be looking through jackets. And as I was looking through jackets, I saw the employee wheel out a new, it wasn't even a rack, it was like a cart. It was mainly hard goods. And so I went over to see what was on there. But on the bottom shelf of this cart were some boots. And they looked to be made of really nice leather. So I pulled them out and that's when I realized that they were Fry's. And that's when I saw that they were only priced at $7.99. And I literally like chucked them in my cart and like ran away because I was so scared someone was gonna see them. And the crazy thing is, some of you who are from that area, I was in Peoria, Illinois. Some of you have said in your comments that that particular Goodwill tends to price, their items really high if they're good, like Fry. Somehow, whoever was pricing that day missed, the fact that these were Fry boots, and so I got them for a steal. That does not happen to me very often. Usually, I am the person that comes across Timberland boots priced at like $99 at Goodwill. I'm not the person that finds Fry for $7.99, so I don't know why I got lucky that day, but I did, and I was very thankful. So that was a really exciting flip. Tabitha, thank you so much for your purchase, and I hope that you love them. They were exquisite boots. The next day of sales that we'll talk about is Friday, March 10th. On Poshmark, I sold this pair of new with tags Carhartt blue loose original fit duckwork dungaree pants in a men's 36 by 36. These I picked up forever ago at the Goodwill outlet in Indianapolis. However, I just didn't get around to listing them until maybe a couple months ago, and they sold for $50. I only had $1.67 into them because that was my average cost of goods that particular time that I went to the bins, and so I made a net profit on those of $38.33. I will keep pants that need to be steamed in a bin, and these had just been in a bin forever, and finally I got around to steaming them and listing them, and they sold so fast. And so I need to be better about getting into a better flow of things when it comes to steaming, or just creating a system so that clothes don't even need to be steamed in the first place. A lot of times clothes need to get steamed because it takes me forever to process them and get to them. And so they're just sitting in bags for a while. And that's when you get a lot of wrinkles. But Carhartt in general is a really great brand. People who wear Carhartt for work purposes, people who are working outdoors or, doing things like plumbing and electrical work and stuff like that, they know the value of Carhartt as far as its durability, and they will pay good money for it. And so I'm not surprised that these sold as quickly as they did and for as much as they did. Carhartt is a good brand to be on the lookout for. The next sale made me really happy, and I'll explain why here in a second. It was this new with tags Trina Turk Million 2 chevron striped maxi dress in a size medium. That dress had sold previously on eBay, and then it got returned to me because the buyer just didn't like it, or maybe it didn't fit. I don't remember. I reached out to someone who had liked the dress and said that I'd be willing to drop the price of this dress to $60 from $75, and by doing so, they could also get discounted shipping. Is that something that they would be interested in? The person reached out and said yes, they were looking for a dress for a trip, and that this would be perfect. So I dropped the price, she bought it, I made the sale, and after my cost of goods, which was $11.18, I made a net profit of $36.82. That is a dress that I picked up at a pop-up consignment sale that happens in my town twice a year. And the reason I reached out to her to see if she'd be interested in buying that dress at a lower cost was because it was Friday. And on Fridays and Sundays on Poshmark, there is this marketing campaign called Closet Clear Out. Essentially, Poshmark is trying to encourage Poshmark sellers to drop prices on items. And in doing so, anyone who has liked that particular item will get a notification that the price dropped and that Poshmark is going to offer them discounted shipping as like an added incentive for them to, purchase the item. I don't just willy-nilly lower prices. Instead, what I do is reach out to people who have liked the item in that past day or so and ask them if they'd be willing to buy it if I lower the price to a certain amount. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. I actually have a couple more sales that I made using this method in a couple days on Sunday because that was another closet clear out day. So, it just depends on how people are feeling that day, I guess. But that's typically what I do. I'm going to try a new method though this Friday. I'm going to let you know how it goes. Let me try it first. And if it works, I'll tell you all about it in an upcoming What Sold video. Make sure you subscribe so that you know when that video goes live. But yeah, we'll see what happens. We'll see if I'm able to make more sales using this other method. But I was happy to move that, for $60 and make that profit of $36.82. On Saturday, which was March 11th, I had another really great shoe sale. It was by the brand Aro, and this brand is associated, I want to say, with Vionic. Let me double check and I'll get back to you on that. But it was this pair of blue perforated suede lace-up fashion sneakers in a European size 41, which translates to a US size 10. Women's size 10 shoes is my favorite size to sell online because it just moves so fast and there seems to be such a need for it. But these sold for $45. I picked them up at that same pop-up consignment sale just on a different day. So that particular day, my average cost of goods was $10.05. So I made a net profit on those shoes of $25.95. It was my very first time trying out this shoe brand, and they had two identical shoes just in different colorways this particular day that I was shopping at this pop-up consignment sale. So I was excited to try them both out. The first pair sold within the first couple weeks of being listed. This pair took, maybe a month or two, but both sold for a good amount, and I'm very happy with those sales. The next thing to sell was this St. John Nuda, that was the style name, jersey turtleneck top in a forest green color. This was in a size petite. So you might notice looking at the photos that I am modeling this piece, and that's because it was something that was in my first drop of the year in January. I'm trying to find more time to model pieces for upcoming drops. It is hard finding that time. It's hard finding the time with good lighting and all that good stuff. I do feel like my new house that I'm in right now has a lot of really great space and lighting for me to model, pieces, but it's finding the time. So we're gonna see if we can do some more of this. But I do think some pieces do sell better because people can imagine what it will look like on a person if it's modeled. This piece, I don't think I had to model it. I think it's pretty straightforward. It is a, bodycon turtleneck, but there were other pieces like jackets and just kind of like oversized shacket type situations that I modeled that I actually do think helped sell the item versus if I hadn't, modeled those articles of clothing. again, it's not something that I think is necessarily worth it when it comes to ROI on the amount of time that it takes, but it is something that I want to do more of for my website. So that sold for $42. I had $14.40 into it from a local consignment store during one of their sales, so I made a net profit of $19.20. On eBay, I sold this Alberto Macaulay black and white zebra print full zip sweater in a size large. It did have some stretch to it because it had some spandex. This sold for $21.90. That was an offer that I sent out to watchers. That's pretty low for this brand, although, just because this brand retails for a ton, I feel like I've heard from a lot of resellers that it doesn't resell for quite as much. I think this was actually the very first time that I had ever picked up this brand and sold it. So I just wanted to see kind of, if other resellers were right. But the reason I ended up having to price this so low and then even sell it for lower is because of the fact that once I got it home and started photographing it, I realized there were so many stains on this thing. Little stains, but stains nonetheless, and that's why I let go of it for so little. I had $5 into it from a local consignment store, so I made a net profit of $12.97 on that. The next day of sales that we'll talk about is Sunday, which was March 12th. Like I said, Sundays are also closet clear out days. So I made 2 sales using my closet clear out method and then 1 bundle sale, just kind of a normal sale. So the bundle sale had 2 items in it. The first being this PGA Tour blue short sleeve golf polo shirt in a men's size extra large. This one I had $2 into. It came to me from a reseller who didn't want to resell clothes anymore, so I bought all of her clothing off of her. And that one actually sold pretty fast. I pass up a lot of PGA Tour at the thrift store, and honestly, I probably will continue to do so. But I feel like maybe if I find it at the bins or something, that would be a worthwhile pickup. I don't know. Let me know if you have luck with PGA Tour stuff. I know some resellers like to pick it up, but yeah, I'd love to hear your experience with this brand. I also have not been to the bins in so long. The nearest bins to me is about 2 hours away. I do go at least 2 or 3 times every time I go to Seattle in the summer to visit my parents. But other than that, I just don't have time to go to the bins because it's so far. I do love sourcing at the bins because you can get great stuff for so cheap, but it's just hard to get there. So hopefully I can get a bins trip in soon and just kind of bring down my average cost of goods. But the next item to sell was this pair of packed mid-rise blue space dye leggings in a women's size extra large. I had $3.92 into these because they came from a different reseller who I bought a pallet off of. It was just, she had too much inventory and she was trying to offload some of it, so I got a good amount of clothes off of her. That bundle sold for $30. That was with discounted shipping, and once you factor in my cost of goods and the fact that I paid for a portion of the shipping, my net profit on those 2 items was $15.10. That's really low, but both of those items were just not high value items to begin with, and I just wanted to move them. So that's what we did, and I made a little bit of money to invest towards better pieces. So the first closet clear out sale, I was just happy with the sale because I needed to move these out too. I had had these forever. It was this pair of Capezio, which is like a dancewear brand, black vegan patent leather tap shoes in a size 11 for children. Those sold for $10 using my closet clear out method. They were probably listed at like 15. So again, I just said, hey, I saw that you like this item. I can drop the price to $10 and Poshmark will give you discounted shipping. Is that something you want to do? They said yes. I dropped the price on the listing and I made the sale. And the reason I use that method is because I don't want to drop prices on things if it's not a for sure sale. I like to wait for someone to tell me explicitly, yes, I will buy that from you if you drop it to the price that we agreed upon before I drop the price. I've had the question asked, how do you do closet clear out with Posher VA? We've already talked about Posher VA and the fact that it will send out offers to likers on your behalf. You set how many minutes you want to wait once an item is liked. You decide how big of a shipping discount you want to offer. But the question is, how can you reach out to people regarding closet clear out and wait for them to give you an answer before Posher VA goes ahead and sends an offer on your behalf? So what I do is I disable that feature usually on like Thursday, if I remember, and if not Thursday, definitely on Friday, and then I will turn it back on Monday. So what that allows me to do is if I turn off that feature on Thursday, then I collect likes on Thursday, and then on Friday, I will message everyone my closet clear clear out method that has liked an item, you know, on Thursday and then throughout the day Friday. And then I continue to leave that, you know, function turned off so that I collect likes on Saturday. And then on Sunday, I'll do the same thing. I'll reach out to people who liked items on Saturday, see if they want me to drop the price for them. And throughout the day on Sunday, as anyone is liking an item, I'll just go ahead and maybe, you know, within 5 to 10 minutes of them liking an item, I'll try to send them that little spiel as well. And by doing so, I make a handful of sales. If you want me to go even more in depth on that closet clear out method, I will link a video right here that I made on just that. It's kind of an older video, but it is the same idea. But yeah, once it's Monday, I will go ahead and go back into Posture VA and I will turn on the feature for Posture VA to send out offers to likers for me so that I don't have to do it myself. That's only one of the many things that Posture VA does. Posture VA will also delist and relist stale listings for you. They will share your closet. It's a wonderful extension that I use every single day. And if you want to try it out for yourself, I do have a coupon code down in the description below that allows you to save 20% off of your first payment on Posture VA. So if you have any questions about it, let me know, but it is a tool that I rely heavily on when it comes to Poshmark. The last sale that we'll talk about was this coral blue skull print high neck racer back sports bra in a size small. This was another sale that I made using my closet clear out method. It sold for $25 and I ended up making a $20 profit on it. It was something that came to me in a ThredUp mixed women's bulk rescue. I don't remember. I don't know what the name of that rescue box is, but it's like a 100-pound box for women. I bought it to unbox on Whatnot, and I made enough money from unboxing the first half of the box on Whatnot that it paid for the whole box itself. I had every intention of getting back on Whatnot and finishing the unboxing and doing like a part 2. I just never got around to it. So instead, I just listed those items instead, this being one of them. And that's why I didn't have any money into it. It just came to me in that ThredUp box that I was able to pay for during that Whatnot sale. So let's talk about my numbers for this particular week. On Poshmark, I sold 11 items for a gross sales amount of $381. Once you factor in all of the, you know, discounted shipping that I offered and Poshmark fees, that total drops to $287.67. I had $50.21 as my cost of goods, and so my net profit from Poshmark for the week was $237.46. On eBay, I sold 6 items for a gross sales amount of $122.80. Once you factor in eBay's fees, that total drops to $101.85. My cost of goods for those 6 items was $15.98, and so my net profit on eBay was $85.87. I had one Mercari sale, and that was for a gross sales amount of $32. Once you factor in Mercari's fees, that total drops to $27.37. I had $2 into that one item, so I made a net profit of $25.37. And then I had 2 sales on my website for a gross sales amount of $105.90. Once you factor in the fact that I paid for shipping, and once you factor in Shopify's very low fees, that total drops to $85.88. I had $12.98 into those 2 items, so I made a net profit of $72.90. I think that's a 9. Finally, my total for the week was 20 sales for a gross sales amount of $641.70. Once you factor in shipping and fees, that total drops to $502.77. My cost of goods for those 20 items was $81.17, and so I made a net profit for the week of $421.60. A lot of that profit came from shoes. Like I said, it was just a really great week for selling shoes. Some that, you know, I only made like $7 on, but some that I made really good profit on, you know, like over $50 of profit on. And hopefully this video gave you an idea of some really great shoe brands to be on the lookout for, and also some shoe brands that you can definitely leave behind. If you enjoyed this video, if you got any value from it, I would really appreciate it if you wouldn't mind hitting that thumbs up sign, that like button, because it does help you to push this video out to other people who might be interested in this kind of content. And thank you for hanging out with me. Thank you for spending your time with me and just learning and growing as a reseller. I appreciate you so much. Thank you, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.